Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Once again, it's Rich. And Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg are singing the blues. In today's episode, we're going to kind of recap everything that's happened and kind of my thoughts on the whole situation, so stick around. Alright everyone, welcome back to another episode of Frozen Oil. And so pretty surprise move. The Oilers did not match either offer for Dylan Holloway or Philip Broberg, and all this speculation that has been kind of building up over the last week has kind of fizzled out to actually nothing. So I wanted to just kind of talk about the last few days. There's a lot of transactions that occurred, and then I'll kind of get into my thoughts on the whole situation. I'm sure for those of you that have been watching this channel for the last 4 months, kind of know my opinion on Oilers management, especially during the McDavid era. And it's a frustrating day for myself, and I'm sure for a lot of other Oilers faithful out there. So we're just gonna kind of talk about what happened. So August 13th, a day that the Oilers and most Oiler fans are probably not going to forget. We get kind of double offer sheeted by the St. Louis Blues for Philip Broberg, an 8th overall draft pick. Played, in my opinion, unbelievable, especially during the playoffs, especially in the finals of the Stanley Cup Finals. And I spoke about it in my video about how hyped I was to watch this guy this year, and I thought he was going to be an Oiler for a long time. I even advised people to go buy this guy's rookie card. So it was a huge shock for me to, hear about this offer sheet for both players, but, especially for Philip Broberg. I mean, I feel this is a huge loss. I really don't think we're going to see how this plays out for a couple of years, and we can kind of have our thoughts there, but I firmly believe he is gonna blossom into what he was touted to be. And then obviously the surprise offer sheet with Dylan Holloway, young stud, great hands, able to get to the dirty areas, physical. All right, so, the first move that was made was Vasily Podkolzin. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but he's a 10th overall pick from the same draft year as Broberg by the Vancouver Canucks. So the Oilers acquire him for a 4th round pick. So I mean, I don't know too much about this player, to be honest with you. But like I said, he apparently, showed flashes of greatness, and 10th overall pick is pretty high, but I mean, we gave up a 4th overall pick, right? So I mean, a 4th round pick, pardon me. So I mean, I don't know if we stole this guy for a 4th round pick, but a lot of Vancouver fans think that he's kind of a bust, so to speak. But I mean, I haven't seen too much of him to kind of figure it out. I mostly concentrate on Oilers, but like I said, we pick him up first, and then the speculation starts with kind of everybody and all the fan base and and all the media and they picked this guy up, so they're probably going to sign Broberg and they're going to let Holloway go, and you're losing you're replacing the youth, and you're replacing a potential future star in this guy and all that jazz. And it's like, hold on a second, I highly doubt, and no offense to any Russian players out there, but I mean the hardest or most physical forward that's Russian that I've seen is Alexander Ovechkin. And I mean, I'm not saying Dylan Holloway is Alexander Ovechkin, but I mean, it's very hard to find that physicality aspect and the get to the dirty places aspect and kind of play hard-nosed hockey aspect that Dylan Holloway possesses. And I was like head over heels for this player. I mean, just the way he played. I used to tell my friends he's like a 70% Matthew Tkachuk. Like, can his ceiling grow? Yes, but I mean, lots of things about his game, reminded me of kind of the game that Tkachuk plays, where you have that elite talent, but you can also quote unquote play the game of hockey. So we got this guy, this Podgolzin guy, and everybody thinks that he's just gonna come and replace Holloway. So I can tell you off the bat that I highly doubt, for the physicality aspect and the get to the hard places aspect, that this player is gonna possess that same trait that Dylan Holloway possesses. So shortly after that, Cody Ceci gets traded. We gotta give up a 2025 third-round pick, and in return, we get Ty Emberson from the San Jose Sharks. So, former Oiler Mike Greer, who is the current GM of the San Jose Sharks, does the Oilers a solid and makes that trade happen, freeing up Cody Ceci's cap space. So now, with the assumption of, Evander Kane going on the LTIR, everyone is saying, including the media, that we're probably going to sign both players. And I have to say, we've been gaslit, basically, as Oiler fans, since January, maybe even a little bit before, with the speculation of we're going to be signing both Broberg and Holloway to contracts around anywhere between 1.2 million up to $1.5 million for each player. And it's just like, you get to a point where, as a fan, you make that mistake of assuming that you're going to have those guys because they are RFAs. You make that mistake of just assuming that they're going to be part of your roster for the 24-25 regular season. And I after July 1st, I spoke about all the acquisitions the Oilers made, all the signings they made. I was on cloud nine. I went on record saying it's the best July 1st in Oilers franchise history. Coming off, a Game 7 Stanley Cup final loss. They did everything they had to do. We have nothing to worry about for the rest of the summer because we were basically, told or kind of hinted at from a long time ago that Philip Broberg and Dylan Holloway were signing both players for under $3 million. And then on August 13th, we get this double offer sheet out of nowhere, and it completely throws a monkey wrench into the Oilers offseason, in my opinion. So back to this in-between time where I probably got, an extra 500 gray hairs during this last week because of how silly I think it is that we're at this point to have basically left these two players exposed to offer sheets and not doing anything about it either prior by signing them or by trading them and getting a lot more in return than a second round pick and a third round pick. Anyways, going back to the in-between time before today's announcement, out of nowhere, the Oilers receive Paul Fisher, who I believe is a 5th round draft pick, and a 2028 3rd round draft pick in exchange for future considerations. So this is basically a sympathy trade, in my opinion, where, St. Louis just gave up a 3rd round pick and a prospect to the Oilers for nothing. And once again, the smoke and mirrors behind this entire situation, because everybody that I spoke to anyways feel that the Oilers management dropped the ball on signing these two players and giving other teams an opportunity to present offer sheets and get them to sign them. So, you have to ask yourself, what are these future considerations and why did this even occur, right? So, you're never going to know what's happening behind closed doors, but more of a smell, and I mentioned in another video, something fishy's going on here. Anybody tells me this situation, you got to look at it, glass half full and kind of look at the positives, and we got all these prospects now, and I'm going to talk about kind of all these prospects we have now after this week of hell that we've had to deal with as fans. But when all the dust is settled, the Oilers have Vasily Podkolzin. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. We have Ty Emberson. We have Paul Fisher, this prospect that we acquired today. We have St. Louis's 2025 second. We have St. Louis's 2025 third. And then we have this gift basket, I'm sorry we screwed you over, St. Louis 2028 third round pick. So a lot of prospects, a lot of future draft picks. Hopefully we are going to be snagging some good players in the second and third round. But it as a fan, again, this is a fan channel, right? I just hate this cycle. And I mentioned when they were signed to these offer sheets, the amount of Dylan Holloway jerseys that fans have went out and purchased, and you're spending $300 on these things, especially when you're putting the name on the back. Waste of money. I was about to buy a Dylan Holloway jersey myself, and that would have been a waste of money. But at the time, I wouldn't think it'd be a waste of money because he's 22 years old. He was drafted in 2020, and he's finally a prospect that actually has developed into an NHL player. And he's gone. He's gone for a third round pick. So, no matter how you cut this thing up, this to me is another massive fail on management to not either sign these players, or if they're not gonna sign, you trade them for way more then a second round pick and a third round pick. And you had almost 45 days since July 1st to make this happen. I mean, I don't know, but how long, A, do you expect the players to wait to come to a deal? And B, how long are you as an organization going to wait, leaving these guys exposed when you know you're up against the cap, and every single team in the NHL knows that? Don't tell me about this gentleman's rule where you're not supposed to do this, because it just blew up in your face. So, you know, I'm gonna do another video about this. I just wanted to get this video out, and but I'm gonna, you know, do another video about this and get some other opinions. Hopefully, have someone on the channel to talk about this a little bit more and kind of go back and forth. But this is where we're at. So I don't want to just step away from this video before kind of discussing the fact that, you know, it's difficult. It's difficult to not mention that both Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg signed these offer sheets. And, you know, to me, that you know, it's not as much of a surprise for Broberg. I thought maybe his feelings would have changed dramatically after, you know, making it to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. But, you know, for Dylan Holloway, it's a lot harder for me to kind of put into my mind how he signed that offer sheet, because it's nowhere near the money that Philip Broberg was offered. And now you're going to be on the St. Louis Blues instead of playing on a team with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. But he did sign it. Broberg did sign it. And at the end of the day, as a team, nothing can come before the team. Nothing can come before the crest on the front of your jersey. Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of kind of bad tastes in your mouth when you think about that aspect of it as a fan. But for, you know, for myself, you know, you start to question, you know, even if they did sign those offer sheets and the Oilers did match them, you start to question, like, what it's going to be like in the locker room, you know? Like, could you imagine having to look at Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, like, for the first time after that, if the Oilers were to match? Like, you have to believe that there's a little bit, I know it's just a business at the end of the day for some of these guys, but there's got to be some sort of pride in the team you play for. And, you know, for me, I start to question, like, Cece, who's a well-liked teammate, you know, kind of was moved, and the cause of all of it was because of this whole entire situation that transpired. Now, you know, could that play into effect into, you know, what other unsigned players are going to think about kind of how the Oilers management handled this whole situation? For sure. And if you look at the track record of the Oilers management in the last 15 years, it's been brutal. So, you know, it's a tough day. It's a tough day to be an Oiler fan, to lose these two players. But we can't hang on to the past, because, as I mentioned many times, our time is now. And we just got to move on from this. Hopefully some of these, you know, prospects and draft picks turn out to be, you know, as good or I mean, I highly doubt better, but as good. as Holloway and Broberg. But you know, we got to move on. We got to move on from this moment, not only as fans, but the Oilers management has to wake up and realize that they can never, ever be in a situation like this again. Ever. So, that's it for today's video. Thanks for watching. And most importantly, go Oilers, go.
Pros know hockey, the channels you need. Oilers on the ice, unstoppable speed. Chasing the cup, we're gonna succeed.